Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Speaking of Zane, July 3rd, 2022 edition. This is our 197th edition of Speaking of Zane. Good to have everybody in there tonight. I know it's a holiday weekend and we're right in the middle of it, so we'll probably not spend too much time here on Speaking of Zane tonight, but do have a few items to cover. But thanks for joining us on a holiday weekend, uh, a wonderful holiday, the one that started it all from a United States of America perspective. Lori's favorite holiday for sure. Which reminds me, I've got a few decorative items I still need to put up out front for her. But good to have everybody in here tonight. Let me give a couple shout outs here. We've got my cousin Toby in there, my buddy Daryl, my Aunt Mary. Hey, Aunt Mary. My Aunt Cindy over in Alabama, Katie up in Michigan, Steve Shirley in Papillion, Nebraska. Hey, Steve. And Jim Miller in Omaha. All right. Jim's got me on the big screen. Okay. Well, good to have everybody in there tonight. For sure, it feels kind of weird having going into a Monday, knowing you don't have to go to work tomorrow. But good to have everybody in there. Speaking of Lori, she just got in a couple of hours ago. Her and Everett took a little mini vacation down to the Tampa area, and they went down to My Warrior's Place, stayed at My Warrior's Place there again, and had a big time. Went to the beach and went to what is the theme park down there? One of the water parks down there, and they had a really big time. And I'm glad they were able to do that. And they got back just a couple hours ago. It's about I guess it's between 8 and 10 hour drive, depending on how you pace yourself and where and when you stop and all of that stuff. But she had Everett with her and her little dog Dougal, who got a little bit of obedience training while he was down there. Chad, one of the veterans that lives on the property there, is also a what would you call him? Not a dog handler, although he was a dog handler, and then on the police force. But anyway, Chad did a little work with Lori's dog Doodle, who's a little miniature schnauzer. But Lori said he's a good driving companion. He did well all the way down there and all the way back. So let's see. Now, while they were gone, Chad is a professional dog trainer. They have part of My Warrior's Place now is they added on to My Warrior's Place, or added a new capability, a new component to the whole facility there, and it's a dog a kennel and a dog park, and like Lori says, there Chad's a professional dog trainer, and they do. What's the name of what do they call it, Lori? It's you have My Warrior's Place, and then you have I think it's called My Service Dog Place or something. Anyway, it's a whole nother, about a year now with a kennel there. And anyway, so Lori's little dog Dougal got some professional training from Chad. Let's see how well he remembers what he learned there. But anyway, they got home safely, thank goodness. My service dog, yeah, Lori's got me there. Let's see. Well, anyway, while they were gone, my son Jackson and his wife Caitlin found themselves in a little bind with work. They had some overlapping hours, and they didn't have anybody to look after their little girl Carson. So they asked me if I would watch her yesterday. So this granddaddy is wore out from that girl. This little 2-year-old girl, she's what, Lori? 2.5, I guess. But 2.5 this is between 2 and 3 has to be the absolute worst years. Absolute worst. They are selfish, they are stingy, they are possessive, they are all over the place. And I couldn't keep up with her. But anyway, so she got here about noontime Saturday and left about noontime today. So I had her for 24 hours. So I had her through a an afternoon nap cycle. I had her through a dinner cycle. I had her through a bedtime cycle. I had her through a morning wake up cycle, breakfast. But she went right to bed. Of course, she didn't take a nap for me yesterday, but she played her little butt off, and then she was in bed by 7 and got her all cleaned up and got her in bed with her all the things she has to have. Just the right nap mat, just the right binky, just the right doll, just the right everything. Everything has to be just right. The right book. And anyway, so she went right down, and she only whimpered about 1 in the morning. She called out for her daddy, but she was fine. And but she was up bright and early at 0700 this morning, and wasn't hearing any of them. I go back to sleep. It was granddaddy, granddaddy. And it turned out she had a big blowout. I didn't think that much poop could come out of a little girl, but my goodness, yeah, we had to do the old bath time hose down thing. Girls have a lot of crevices and stuff, and I don't like it. But anyway, we got that all squared away. She had some applesauce and cereal this morning, and then we just played around a little bit till her daddy came and got her about noontime. And but that was my 24 hours with a little 2-year-old girl. Oh my goodness, she was incredible. There's Matt Aaron in there. All right, well, let's see. No update on the house next door. I've been giving you guys house fire updates since the fire happened in March, but they came over and mowed. So I was going to mow yesterday. As soon as I put Carson down at 7 p.m., I had about a 2-hour window, and I went out and mowed. Got my yard done, but they had already done their yard. Jim, I'm absolutely out of practice. Absolutely. I went a full 10 years of having grandkids and never changing a diaper. I changed 2 of those bad boys today, 2 very stinky ones. And yeah, that is not my forte. But all right, well, let's see what else. Weight loss update. 48 pounds. What did I say last week? I don't remember if I was at 47 or 48 last week, but I've been in that 1 pound a week or 1 pound every other week mode. I'm at 48. I'm about to hit the big 50 mark. Maybe I'll hit it between now and next week. But I cooked me a let's see, about noon today. I put on a brisket, just a little, about a 3-pound brisket, and smoked that bad boy. And it was really, really good. Those are great. A lot of protein, a lot of fat, good stuff there. So even being out of being out of town that week, I was still able to lose. But I did. I gave a full poop report to her daddy when he got here, so so he knew. Whatever you do with that information, he knows. He's aware of the consistency there. So okay, well, let's see. What the heck is going on? Started a new class. I mentioned this last Sunday night on Speaking of Zane, that I was starting I had just graduated a class of engineers that I'd spent a year with, and I started a brand new one last Monday. Was it Monday? Yeah, I guess it was Monday. Yeah. So started a brand new group on Monday, got them through their first week, got all their technology squared away, got all their pay and all of those things squared away. We'll do a little bit more of that this week before we really jump into the content. But good group of young folks. There's a dozen of them. So it's a little bit of an uplift. My last group, I did 7. And then my colleague right behind me is doing 12. And then now I started the new 12. And basically what we're doing is we're doing some homegrown, developing them into sales engineers. It's kind of a crash course to a lot of reasons why we're doing it. But anyway, it's the funnest thing I've ever done. But anyway, 5 of the 12 are brand new college grads. They just got out of college last month. That's how new they are. So there's a lot of things that I'll teach them that aren't necessarily engineer related, but just general business related. 3 of them are young ladies, which is young ladies are still kind of an oddity in the true engineering fields, and I have 3 of them at the moment. One of them's an Army vet, and another of them is a National Guardsman. I mentioned that last week, I think. But he is going. Let's see. I started him early because he's got his 2 weeks of guard duty this summer, so he's going to miss 2 weeks, but that's okay. We can accommodate that, and just started him early, got him kicked off, and then he'll be out for a couple of weeks in July. But yeah, good group. So far, so good. Everybody's paying attention. Everybody's responding to my expectations, and I think it's going to be good. I'll be spending just about every day with them for a year, so there'll be a lot of fun. I sent them home early Friday, actually, Lori. Lori's asking, those poor kids. Well, the oldest one's about 30, 31 or so. And then they go down from there to about 22. So they're kind of kids. But anyway, yeah, Friday, I gave them some things to do. There's a couple of standing meetings they have to attend. And I have a program manager who's a school teacher. And she kept them engaged for me while I was out on Friday. I had to run out to my friend Matt's funeral. My friend Matt's son, I mentioned last week, his oldest son's about 22 and passed away. Just a tragic thing. And so I drove across town to Snellville, Georgia, about an hour, and this was about an hour and 15 minutes each way, and went out there and paid my respects, and turned around and came back, and got back in time to do our weekly wrap up with my 12 new people and my program manager Ashley, and I did, Lori. I did cut them loose early. I told them that there'll be times that that I'm going to say, let's knock it off for the week, and you're going to have to use your best judgment on if you're in a good spot to wrap it up. And but anyway, I sent them on their way for the long weekend, about 4:00 Eastern. A good number of them are Central, so at 3:00, and then one young man is out in Seattle, so 3 hours, 1:00, I guess it was, but. Let's see who else has joined. Matt's in there. Aunt Paula's in there. Hello, Aunt Paula. Well, I'm a lot skinnier than I was in January, 50 pounds ago. But I think I could go another 50, honestly. I don't know. That may be physiologically impossible at my age. I don't know, but I don't know. I can see a clear path to 60 pounds for sure, but we'll see how it goes. But I feel much better. I do feel more energetic, and I don't feel bloated or like I have any inflammation or anything like that. And I'm not hungry. I eat so much protein and fat in pretty much one meal a day. Lori says, yeah, Lori says my oldest. Yeah, the oldest in the class is 32. Young man up in Seattle. He's been a nurse for the last 10 years or so, and decided he wanted a career change. And very coincidental that we have an entire practice at our company, which is that we provide technology solutions to businesses. We have a whole practice on healthcare, hospitals and healthcare accounts. And anyway, so his background is very exciting for us. So, all right, let's see. We happen to know him a little. There, yeah, there's a connection between this young man, uh, the reason that we know of who he is and everything. But we'll reveal that. Um, all right, let's see. Got another someone in there on Facebook user says, "Hey, cousin, that could be." Sometimes when you're on the Facebook group, I think it doesn't show your name for some reason, but that could be my cousin Cindy. That could be Toby. Um, but anyway, hello. Good to have everybody in there for sure. Okay, well, that's enough about my class. And again, Matt and Suzanne, pray for them and the loss of their son, Jack. Um, Turned out Jack was dealing with severe depression, and just it seems to be an epidemic in that age group for sure. But his pastor had some pretty good words. He said, "There's." I thought it was you, Cindy. Hello. His pastor said, "Life is tragic, and God is faithful. And if you're a believer, you just have to hold on to that, I guess." But okay, let's see. That is my cousin Cindy. All right, she lives down in Douglasville, Georgia, not too far from us. All right, well, let's see. Hat of the week. Hat of the week. Everybody knows I'm a hat guy. I'm a ball cap guy, and I'm usually wearing a ball cap. I was wearing a ball cap today out at the funeral out at the cemetery. I went out to the cemetery this afternoon. I hadn't been out in a couple of weeks to see Zane, and just a beautiful day here in North Georgia. So I drove out. Had to pick up some things at Kroger anyway, so I went over to Cartersville. But I went on out, and it was a beautiful day. And started out sort of sunny, broken clouds, and so Daryl is ahead of the game here. He's getting a little ahead of the game. That's okay. Hat of the week. Hat of the week. Okay, but anyway, I went out to had a different hat on today. I went out to the cemetery, and I was sitting there. There's a bench that I don't know if Lori knows about this bench, but we don't usually go over there. But sometimes when I go out there and I've got a little time, I'll walk over past the parade ground, the assembly area, and there's a just on the other side between the assembly area and section 10. Zane's in 11, 10's the next one. There's a bench. So oftentimes we'll go up there and sit in the bench. It's in the shade on the little trail. And I was sitting there and just watching people come and go, and watch a deer come in. We don't get I've seen a lot of deer out there, but you don't get them roaming around among the headstones like they do where Daryl's at there at Jefferson Barracks. They're all over the place at Jefferson Barracks, but they're pretty rare where we're at. But not that the deer are rare, because this is up on top of a hill and a mountain and lots of forest, and everything. So there's lots of deer around there, but they don't walk in among the headstones like they do at Jefferson Barracks. We see a lot of turkey and deer. But anyway, this guy was really bold. I'm sitting there, and he walked right past me on the bench and went out into section 10 and started feeding on some of the fresh flowers out there until the storm started. Thunderstorm, man, just came out of nowhere, and right at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains there. And anyway, a storm rose up, and I couldn't get back to the car before I tried to wait it out underneath some trees there, but I was soaked head to toe. The hat I was wearing was just totally soaked. I was soaked head to toe, feet, shoes, socks, shirt, shorts, and everything. And but it was refreshing. It was an interesting experience. So this wasn't the first hat I had on today, but this is the hat of the week. And the hat of the week has to do with one of our items from this week in military history. This week in military history, on July the 2nd, through the 4th, I believe. Somebody check me. You can Wikipedia it, but was the Battle of Gettysburg. The Battle of Gettysburg, June the 2nd through the 4th, maybe the 5th, there in Gettysburg. And so the hat of the week is Gettysburg. And I picked this hat up at the gift shop at Gettysburg. I went up there a few years ago for a meeting with my team, and my boss at the time, it's a big history buff, Chris Black, if you're out there, Blackie. But he took us on a tour of the battlefield, and we just got to do all kind of cool stuff, the cemetery, and anyway, just fascinating. I'll tell you what, if I could retire today and do nothing but tour American history locations, that's what I would do for the rest of my years. But it was an awesome, and he reminded me. I saw him in St. Louis last week, Lori, or the week before when I was there for the graduation, and he says, well, you and Lori still have a standing invite to come up here and stay with us and do another Gettysburg tour. So we'll have to figure out how to work that in. But anyway, so that is the hat of the week, my Gettysburg hat. All right, well, moving on to this week in military history, I have a few items. Of course, you all can probably guess the number one item this week, a day ahead of Independence Day. But I'm going to start from most recent item to the most distant item. And the most recent, this one may not be the most recent, but I'm going to put it there because it's the polite thing to do. And on July 3rd, today of 19 something, Amy Walton was born. Happy birthday, Amy. Amy is a good friend of ours, joins us here most Sunday nights, was a radio operator with us. And I'll tell you, if there was ever a young lady that we worked with in the Air Force that was one of the guys, it was Amy. And she still is, and one of my favorite people. And so happy birthday to you, Amy, on this date in 19 something like that. But so that's my first item. Amy made the This Week in Military History list. The second one, June the 30th of 1968. Now, you guys know I'm an av geek, right? I'm an aviation buff. Okay, that pun was not intended, but that's an item here in a minute, thanks to my friend Daryl. Stay tuned for that. Daryl, did you hear what I just said? Anyway, January 30th, 1968 was the first flight of the C-5 Galaxy. If you have flown on a C-5 Galaxy, put it in the chat. I certainly have several times, many times. C-5 Galaxy, first flight, June 30th, 1968, and still flying. We've lost a number of them. A number of them have gone to the boneyard, of course. But there are quite a number of them still flying, and they are on the C-5M variant. They've always been a pig, though. They've always hovered around a 50-50 operational readiness rate, which isn't pretty good. That means half the fleet is operational, half is undergoing some sort of maintenance. That's not a pretty good ratio. But anyway, the C-5, our largest cargo ship. And then how about this one, Daryl? This is thanks to Daryl. June 29th, 1955. June 29th, 1955. The first operational B-52 Stratofortress was delivered to the 93rd Bomb Wing at Castle Air Force Base in California. So that was the first operational. Now, it started flying a year or two before that, but and those bad boys are still flying. Of course, we've lost some. Of course, many have gone to the boneyard, but there are still a fleet of B-52s that fly out of Barksdale and Minot, I believe. are the two bases these days. But the B-52 still a part of the nuclear triad, I think, if I get that right. Steve Shirley will correct me if I get any of that wrong. But the B-52 has been flying for a long time. The joke is that the the B-2 stealth bomber, on the B-2 stealth bomber's retirement ceremony, it will be interrupted by a B-52 doing touch and goes. And I believe that. I believe that it's going to outlast them all. But anyway, so since I'm an ab geek, those are two of the This Week in Military History items. And then I mentioned already the Battle of Gettysburg. Daryl helped me out there in the chat, July 1 through 3, Battle of Gettysburg. Now, I'm mixing my my eras here. I've got Revolutionary War stuff going today, and I've got Civil War stuff going today, but they're 100 years apart. But so that's the deal. And of course, tomorrow, 1776, July the 4th, 1776, we basically told Britain to stuff it. And hey, listen, we're going to do this thing on our own, and we are not going to be governed by a monarch. And that's the name of that tune. And we all know how that turned out. So I, for one, am a grateful American, patriotic American. I revere our founding fathers. Now, were they perfect? What man is perfect? There was one perfect person that ever walked this earth. So I don't get hung up on that. I know that man is fallen. Man is sinful, man is not perfect, but I revere the founding fathers for the vision they had, the way they crafted the Declaration, Bill of Rights, the foresight that they had, the way that they painted the picture that a government, even the new government that they were starting, could be hijacked, or it could people can turn into tyrants, right? They built these checks and balances into the way that they crafted our government to protect the people from the government. And what insight they had. And anyway, so what I saw another thing today, well, they were treasonous. Well, it's only treason if you lose. and we won. So there you go. So happy birthday, fellow Americans. I hope we never, ever, ever forget and never stop celebrating the birth of our nation, the greatest nation that's ever existed. I don't care about the flaws and the warts. We all have them. But it's the greatest, the world is an absolutely better place because of this country and the people that make up this country, without a doubt. So anyway, that's my 4th of July rant. How about that? From a grateful American. Okay. Well, on to the Veteran Cemetery Challenge. I mentioned I was out at the cemetery today. I hadn't been for probably 3 weeks, coming up on 3 weeks, I guess, maybe at least 2, coming up on 3. And I start to feel, I don't know, if we ever move, that's going to be the hardest thing. And we have talked about moving to Florida. I'm not can't have 2 homes. Let's just put it that way. But if we ever do move to Florida, that's something that's just that's the thing that would bother me, I think, the most, is not being able to go visit his earthly body. I know it's not his heavenly body. It's his earthly body, I know, but there's something about the place where you put someone to rest that pulls you back, even though you know they're not there. Their spirit's not there. But anyway, I feel like I posted today. It's my I love going there and I hate going there, and it's a weird thing. Those two things are mutually exclusive, hate and love, and I feel them both when I go there. But anyway, and I know some of you, I'm not describing a feeling that others don't have for sure, but everybody does respond differently. Everybody, Lori and I are totally different in the way that we react and respond. And the thing, every human is different and every human reacts to certain things differently. I say Lori and I are more alike than we are uh, in that regard than we're not. But I know everybody deals with these things differently. But anyway, but I spent some time out there today. I know Daryl made a visit to Jefferson Barracks today. Daryl, you and I were probably visiting our loved one at the same time today. So I know Daryl went out there to Jefferson Barracks. And Jim had another visit this week, and Jim has chronicled his visits very nicely. Thank you, Jim, for sharing those things with us. Jim shared that he went and visited his wife, Deborah, at St. John's in Bellevue, and then to Omaha National Cemetery, where our mutual friend Todd Vanderwerken rests. And Lori made a visit. Okay, that's right. Lori went on Monday, so I need to add that to my list. But anyway, so Jim made it to Omaha National, which reminds me, our mutual friend Todd Vanderwerken, who passed about 3 years ago, is buried there, and we all served with him. Me and Jim and Steve and Amy, and unfortunately Todd passed of cancer. But Todd's son Tyler, Todd has a son Tyler, so we share that, and Todd's son reached out to me this week and to say hello and get some advice. And he says, my dad always talked about where you guys work. My dad, I'm kind of a nerd like my dad was. I really want to do kind of what he did, and what kind of advice can you give me? And anyway, so I'm working on a plan with him to I'd love to help mentor him a little bit while he's in college. And then I happen to know a program where we train engineers to do what his daddy did. And maybe that's something that will be on his horizon. But just a very respectful, sharp young man, about 20 years old now. But his dad absolutely adored him, big baseball guy. And anyway, so that reminded me of that, Jim, you visiting Todd this week. And Jim, also thank you, Jim, for posting on the Facebook page. Let me pull that up. That's worth sharing with the group here. If I can get my mouse to cooperate with me here, maybe. There we go. Yeah, let me see if I can find. There was a street in Sarpy County, and I don't know where it's at. Maybe Jim can tell us, but there was a street in Sarpy County there where Bellevue is. It was named after Corporal Dagan Page. And if you remember, Dagan Page was from Nebraska and was killed in that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, almost coming up on a year now. And Dagan Page, Corporal Dagan Page, his family lives at Beaver Lake, south of Plattsmouth. And anyway, Jim found that there was a street somewhere in Sarpy County named after him recently. And I don't know exactly where it's at, Jim. If you, Jim might know. Let me see if I can find here. I've just about got it. Here we go. Let me share this for you. But can you imagine a young man in his prime, early 20s, and is killed in Afghanistan and never gets to live the life that he was meant to live, Just terrible. All because of ineptitude, really, in my opinion. I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but there you go. So Corporal Dagan Page. Now, Jim, I don't know if maybe it's said in that article where that's at or not, but anyway, thank you for sharing that. Certainly, he certainly deserves that and more, to be remembered, to be honored, to be revered for putting down his life for the rest of us, for sure. Okay, so thank you for that, Jim. So Daryl made a visit, Jim made 2 visits, Guy made a visit, Lori made a visit. So I need to update my visits. So we had 5 visits. For anybody new or just tuning in, we started this whole visiting veteran cemeteries. Gosh, what, Lori? 4 years ago, man? 3 years ago? Maybe 3 years ago. And we've just kept doing it. I don't know. I feel like I need to. And you guys have stepped up and played the game right alongside us. So we appreciate you guys doing that. But we chronicle them every week. So we had 5 visits this week. And that means since we started doing this, we're at 643 visits to 157 different locations. So keep up the good work. Jim says it's a section of Gertrude between 157th and 162nd Streets. So how about that? You can find Corporal Dagan Page way or road or street there. Thank you, Jim, for posting that. All right, a couple other items in that section. I saw an article about another Korean War vet whose body has been identified, and he has been repatriated to the States. And this young man was 18 years old in Korea, Corporal Kenneth Ford. And this past week, he was laid to rest in, I think it's called Eddyville, Iowa, Eddy-Ville, Iowa, Eddyville or Eddyville, Iowa. So, man, I tell you what, aren't you grateful that we have a country that doesn't stop trying to identify the missing? And 80 years later, we're still doing it from World War II. It's a commitment, and so that's good that Corporal Ford was laid to rest. And there was another soldier. Actually, he was an airman. He was a U.S. Army Air Force's staff sergeant by the name of William Wood. He was 25, from Valdosta, Georgia. Valdosta, just south of my folks down there. It's in the extreme south Georgia, right before you get to Florida on I-75. Lori came right through there today. But he was killed in World War II. Was an aircrew member. But he's finally been accounted for after all of this time. And he's going to be buried on August the 1st at the National Cemetery there in Tallahassee, Florida. Lori and I have visited there. A very nice cemetery there in Tallahassee. It was raining that day, wasn't it, Lori? It was storming all around Tallahassee, but we did get to visit him. Yeah, so from Valdosta, Georgia. Okay. Well, let's see. What else do we have coming up here? Lori, I mentioned that Lori's at My Warrior's Place. Kelly has all kind of stuff going on down there. I don't know how she keeps up, but she's actually looking for, if you know anybody in the Tampa area, she's looking for a maintenance man, full-time, 40-hour a week. It's a volunteer position at My Warrior's Place. but your room, room, room and utilities, all that stuff is part of the gig. And she's generally speaking, she's had the veterans in there, and she's got an opening now. So if you know anybody that is like a handyman, maintenance guy, ideally a veteran, let us know. I've mentioned before working on the Wi-Fi down there, and I don't know how it was this time, Lori, but I know she's in between. I've mentioned this before. She's trying to do some things there on the property to consolidate the internet and the cable. She's trying to get away from having to have Cablevision and internet run to each cottage and just consolidate with one fat pipe into the Pineapple House and then distribute it across the property. And it's doable. I'm in the business of this kind of stuff. And anyway, the guy that was helping her do that kind of is out of the picture now, and kind of left her high and dry. So me and a couple of my buddies, looks like we're probably gonna just rip all that stuff out and start fresh. And that way we can know exactly what's going on. We can manage it from wherever. A number of us will know how to keep it operating. And anyway, so might necessitate another trip, another trip down there. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I just haven't got it sorted out yet. But I got 3 guys in the area down there that can go out there, and I may not have to go. But anyway, so don't tell Kelly what we're thinking. But we're going to try to get all that squared away for her, so she doesn't have to worry about it, and visitors in the cottages don't have to worry about it, and they got decent connectivity and everything while they're staying there. But anyway. And let's see, what's the next thing coming up? We've got the Running to Honor 5K coming up on the hottest day of the year, July 30th or 31st. Our good friend Aaron Bartle up in Michigan heads that up, has done so for the last 4 or 5 years. And we've been participating for a couple now. This will be our 3rd year, I think. And I think my dad and my sister and my cousin or my nephew are coming up for that. So we'll be sure to take pictures and let you guys know how that went. And I think that is about it. Let's see. No, I didn't see, I'm not aware of any, but if anybody ever knows of any and I didn't call it out, I don't think we lost any service members over this last week that I'm aware of. The last ones that I recall were from the Osprey crash, the 5 Marines, but thank God we haven't lost any in the last week or so. But okay, folks, well, I hear the fireworks going off out there already here in our neighborhood, and I know there will be tonight and tomorrow. But our neighbor right next door, the one with the house fire, they're the ones in the cul-de-sac that usually have the big firepower, and then the next cul-de-sac up, they do a big deal. But the guys next door, they're not in their house, so we won't have the same sort of thing. 1 year, I think it was last year, I took my drone up. I took my drone up as high as it could go, and while they fired the fireworks right up amongst the drone, it was kind of cool. But all right, folks. Well, hey, listen. Happy birthday, Americans. God bless America is all I got to say. I'm a proud, patriotic American. I hope you are too. I know you all are. And have a great week. It's a short week, but make it count. I'm trying to teach my new engineers to make every minute count, and they always need to be thinking about how to best use their time. That's true for all of us, though, isn't it? So you guys do that this week. Have a great week. You know what? Let me give a shout out here. I just noticed my buddy Jeff Klein jumped in there. Hey, Jeff, good to have you in there. Jeff's a patriotic American. Sure is right there. I tell you, I've talked about Jeff before. You guys know Jeff. I've talked about Jeff, one of the first people I talked to after Zane, when I went on my first work trip after Zane passed. And anyway, Jeff is a good friend, and I appreciate him. But good to have everybody in here tonight for sure. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody again next Sunday night. Or speaking of Zane, wait a minute. I just thought of something. Next Saturday, I've been asked to be the guest speaker again at the 8th Air Force Historical Society, the Georgia chapter. I spoke to them last November about the work I did on the B-17, and now they want to hear about what I did in the Air Force. So anyway, I will look forward to telling you guys how that went. That's on Saturday about noon. So I'll go do that and tell them all about my job in the Air Force. I'll talk about all the job that we did, Steve and Amy and Jim. For what it's worth, they seem interested. I'll take a bunch of pictures and on PowerPoint, and I'll let you guys know how it went. But have a great week. Look forward to seeing everybody next Sunday night once again for Speaking of Zane. Be good.